Well, great day, everyone, and welcome to Spirit and Mind, where we discuss current affairs with faith and mental health perspectives. And we are so grateful to have you with us today. And of course, I'm Bishop Guy Robinson, and Dr. Jonathan Shepard is joining us again, as always. Dr. Shepard, great day to you, sir.
Yes, great day, Bishop C. Guy Robinson. How are you, sir?
All is well here, and or shall be well. and so, and we're grateful for our Spirit and Mind family that is joining us today. Thank you for joining. Please let persons know we're here. Feel free to share, spread this, or share from your respective accounts. But we welcome you to Spirit and Mind, and thank you for being with us today as we have some great dialogue, we believe, in subject matter to review today and to go over. But as always, we are blessed to have Dr. Shepard give us updates, and certainly updates are important. There's several things that are happening with medical concerns today. And so, Dr. Shepard, what do we need to know? What's the latest?
Well, Bishop, well, first of all, again, greetings, everyone. The latest is that this week has been a detrimental week. It feels like I keep saying it every week, Bishop. That just doesn't feel good. I'll be honest with you. That's a little off the cuff, but it doesn't feel good, me saying that. I'm looking for that week where I can say we've turned around. But unfortunately, we have not been able to do such yet. Here in Maryland, we suffered the worst day that we've ever had in the pandemic this week, just shy of 3,000 cases of the coronavirus. And so we want people to know that it is of utmost importance to be vigilant. Let's listen to what the restrictions are. There are so many places now regarding testing sites that are flooded. They're overwhelmed with trying to get people tested. I got tested this past week, just 2 days ago. The health facility where I work at, we are offering COVID-19 testing. And I just did that because I've been telling you all that if you're going to go to anyone's house for Thanksgiving, you need to know your status. Any admission into the Shepard household or to any other household, you need to have your COVID-19 status. And even if you get the test, you need to make sure you are quarantining, isolating yourself. So if you're negative, you need to maybe stay away from other places that will then increase your risk of becoming positive. So it's important. And so many people want to get tested right now. The CDC has stated that they want us to stay at home. They've urged people not to travel. United Airlines has said that this is going to be their best week since the pandemic started regarding travel. So it's going to be interesting to see. United Airlines has already said that this will be the biggest week they've had since March. CDC is saying don't travel. The two are colliding. I don't know which one is going to win out. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. I am saying this. Again, not to be the pessimistic. That's why I said, Bishop, doesn't feel good sharing some of this news each week. But if we do not stay home and forego the family gathering for Thanksgiving, our Christmas will not be merry. It will not be merry at all. It's possible that we could hit 300,000 deaths by the end of this year. That is not something that's out of the realm of possibility. And that is scary to think about. So we just don't want that to happen. You say, Dr. Shepard, how is that possible? Well, if you think about it, we still have about 40 some days left in the year. And people are dying at more than 1,000 deaths a day here in the United States. So that's how we can get up to close to 300,000. So the numbers are right there, unless we mitigate the response. So that's what's going on in that area. Please get your flu vaccination. That will be helpful. So again, I'm a broken record. I will say this, there are vaccines that are coming out I'll just give a little bit of shout out to that. Know that the vaccines, they are something that has not been tested as far as the method of which we would deliver this type of vaccine. What do you mean, Dr. Shepard? Well, we're using a different method called messenger RNA. Most of our vaccines do not use this methodology. So that's why we're utilizing measures such as real cold storage. Some of the vaccines have to be stored at negative 94 degrees. I believe that is Celsius. It might be Celsius. Sorry if I can't remember which one. But negative 94 degrees, that's cold. That's all you need to know. And most places cannot store vaccines at that temperature. So your Walgreens, your CVS, other places, they are scrambling to get super coolers. And so it's going to take a while. I don't see this vaccine being widely distributed until this time next year. What are you saying? 2021 could very well look like a lot of 2020. And so we just need to be prepared and be prepared for the long haul. And it takes 2 doses. So that's one of the things that also I want people to know. It will take 2 rounds of doses. And, you know, being in the medical field, there's the hepatitis B vaccine. If you work in the medical field, you know what I'm talking about. And that is a 3-series vaccine. Bishop, guess what? Most people, they get the first one. They don't go back for the second or third one.
Wow.
So I'm just telling you now, I'm scared because people may get the first one, but they may not go back and get the second. And, you know, that scares me. And so, yeah, so we really need to be prayerful regarding the vaccine. What do you mean prayerful? Pray that the vaccine is widely distributed as fast as possible and that it works. Even though it says 95% effective rate, that's only on the people they've tried it. There has not been large population studies yet. And anybody in science knows that just because something works for a sample size or a smaller sample size does not mean they will always work at a larger population study. That's just plain research, knowing that. So we have to pray that it will work at that rate and that people will go get the vaccine. I heard people say, you're not sticking me with anything. You're not about to use me as a guinea pig. I've heard it. People saying, that's wonderful, but I'm not going to get the coronavirus. And I believe them because they don't go get the flu vaccine. You know, so yeah, it is trying times. So I want you all to be vigilant. I want you to be prayerful. I'm thankful for this time that we have each week because we want you all to be intelligent folks who are well-versed in knowing what it takes to stay safe and know how to be able to mitigate your risk of catching the coronavirus. So please, 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 ma'am, please, sir, let's do our due diligence and let's look out for one another. I see so many people who are out there today, Bishop. I got a friend of mine all the way in Wisconsin who's joining us today, Evangelist Connie Russell, who I've had the privilege of speaking at her church several times. I'm mentioning her in particular because she's up in Wisconsin. Wisconsin, their positivity rate is very high right now. That Midwest corridor, North Dakota, South Dakota, Wisconsin, some of them have got over 30% positivity rates. Some of them I hear as high as 50% positivity rates. That is just crazy. And yeah, we need to be prayerful. So I will tell Evangelist Connie, please stay safe. I see you all out there. I know Bishop already runs down the list, and I'm sure he will do that. But I see you, Felicia Jones and Maddie Evans, and thankfully I get a chance to say some people's names today. Diane Sanders, it's wonderful seeing you. Bless you. And Audrey Hill, Juanita Henderson, Laverne Jones. It's so good to see you all here. And we got some wonderful news for you all today. Bishop, I'm done.
Yes, yeah, it does. No, this is helpful. And we have some wonderful news that we're going to share with you in just a few minutes. We're prepping for that now. Iron sharpens iron. Dr. Shepard, thank you for that update. Thank you for the sobriety of it. But we know that you are operating both fields. But so you had a prophetic edge to you today. In this sense, we have to preach the word in season and out of season. It doesn't always feel good. Jeremiah didn't necessarily have the shout you sermons, if you will, but they were very sobering and very necessary and even very hopeful, because it's an opportunity. So we hear the hope of the vaccine, but we also hear the sobriety that still has to go through a process, and that still has to take some time. I also hear the wisdom of the scriptures, that one of the temptations for those who get it, whether you get it clinically or whether you get it theologically, just get it. One of the temptations that Jesus had to go through in the wilderness was the temptation to tempt God. And that's the temptation where it says the enemy took him up on a high point and said, throw yourself down, because the Bible says the angels will catch you. He even quotes scripture, and he sounds churchy. And what Jesus answers, rightfully so, is saying, you shall not tempt the Lord your God. I always wondered what that meant in my younger Sunday school days, researching, and in my older years. Wisdom has helped me to see that what it means is don't take unnecessary risk in the name of faith. That's really what it means. It means you shall not tempt the Lord thy God. And God, 2 times, even in the Old Testament, when God gets particularly angry with Israel, when they complained in the wilderness, thinking that the conditions were too harsh and too much, and they started complaining at Massa, which literally means the place of testing God. Wow. And so it's something about that the Lord says, don't tempt me, because when we take unnecessary risks, because God has given us the sound mind, is what Paul says. So a sound mind is a gift. I know we talk about the gifts of the Spirit, yeah. but that list is not necessarily exhaustive, because who can exhaust the grace of God? Right. And so you see other manifestations of spiritual gifts, and the Bible says God has given us, that's a gift, a sound mind. And so maybe they go together, where it says, you shall not tempt the Lord your God, which means don't take unnecessary risks. Jesus essentially says, I'm not going to throw myself off of this high point to try to provoke God to do something that was not in his will. And so that is the powerful thing of it. And so we need to find that balance. Of course, we know that we are people of faith and we live by faith. But also be aware of the enemy's ability to manipulate the word, as he did in the wilderness, to try to take unnecessary risk when you've received prophetic word and instruction, to try to reinterpret it, to take unnecessary risk. So we want to encourage you. And that's what I heard as you were sharing, Dr. Shepherd. I know you are a man of faith. I also know you are a man of science, and you integrate the two wonderfully well. And so I heard both of them in that moment. That was powerful.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah. And I'm glad you said that, because even my friend up in Wisconsin, she's telling me that there are people who are still meeting as if nothing is wrong. And so we need to make sure that we are being mindful that our meeting and coming together puts other people at risk. What also disturbed me, Bishop, and I won't digress too much, but reading in the paper about people dying in North Carolina, I don't want to say Carolina, North Dakota. I guess North Carolina has been such a hot topic because of the election, but North Dakota, South Dakota, people denying that they actually had the coronavirus until their day of death. The nurse telling them, you're dying because of coronavirus, and they're saying, no, I don't have it. On their deathbed, refusing to believe that the coronavirus is real. That is sad. That is sad. That just tells me that we are dealing with a generation of people that allowed their minds to become so warped that they even refuse to have the truth revealed to them, to even believe what's really happening. That's sad. That is sad. That's sad. And I don't want anybody out there to become like that. And I want people to know that it is real. It is real. We have churches here in Baltimore that were once open. They had to shut back down again. I'll say this, and I am done. I really am done. It bothers me. Why do we have restaurants still open, people indoor dining and bars, and yet our schools are still closed. The reverse. Go to Europe. Go see how they're doing it in Europe. All right, it's not really up for debate here. They're doing it well in Europe, and the data shows it. You can open up a school safely and the children not be affected as much. Whereas if you have indoor dining and people taking their mask off and eating and bars, you need to speak to your legislative folks about this, your governors, things like that. Let them know it's time to close the restaurants, close the bars. Let's open up our schools, because our children right now are not learning, Bishop.
Yes. This is a presentation in and of itself, but hopefully this update has been helpful to you, and hopefully and we'll say more in the close, but we still have a wonderful Thanksgiving and holiday season experience. We have so many developments with Spirit in Mind. We're grateful, and we have not yet had the opportunity to introduce our engineer, who is really gifted. We're so grateful. And she has some news for us today in the person of Minister Kat Henderson. Welcome to Spirit in Mind. On the front side, you've been running things back behind the scenes for a long time, but welcome. And what good news do you have for our Spirit in Mind family?
Thank you, Bishop. Thank you, Dr. Shepherd. It's always a joy every week working with the two of you, and I consider it such a blessing and an honor. We're so excited that Spirit in Mind is growing by leaps and bounds. And so in order to tap into the rest of the world, we have now expanded into a full podcast. So you no longer have to have social media access and things of that nature to enjoy each episode. And then there may be some episodes that you may have missed, or if you were working or on travel, or if it was just some of your favorite episodes and you want to go back and be able to listen to those and to watch them again, well, we've solved that for you. So Spirit in Mind has a full podcast that is totally separate from any social media. So you can log into the podcast on its own. And I am going to attempt to bring this up for everyone. And if not, I can just put it into the chat for us. So let's see here. We will share our screen. And hopefully we can do that for you. And if not, I'll bring it up, not to belabor time. I'll bring it up at another time for everyone. So I'll put it in the chat for everyone. What it allows us to do is it allows us to actually go in to the actual podcast link. And so I'll put that information in the chat for you so that we won't take away from today's dynamic programming. But it's phenomenal. Don't need social media access. Don't have to log in. It'll send you reminders. You can interact directly with our guests and the hosts. You can order materials. We have our bishop is an amazing author. So if you want to order the materials, you can order them right from the podcast. You can save it in your favorites and enjoy every episode and go back and even listen to some of your favorites. So I'll put that information in the chat for you. But we're so excited that Spirit in Mind is growing by leaps and bounds, and we have a podcast.
Yeah.
We're excited. Please, thank you, Minister Kat. She's going to put that information in the chat line here. And please feel free to visit it. And you can access really all of our content. We've been doing this really almost all of this year. And so you can catch a year's worth of content as we approach our anniversary, actually. And so you can get caught up. In a few months, we'll be at our 1 year old first anniversary of Spirit in Mind.
Wow.
It's incredible. So, Dr. Shepherd, anything to add on that?
It's amazing what God would do in the midst of a pandemic and how time has quickly gone past. Please go to VidFlex. That is the company that we're going to be on regarding our streaming platform for the podcast. And so that's all I want to say. Thank you, Minister Kat. She's been a wonderful asset to the team. And you're going to hear some other exciting news that we'll try our best. I kind of got carried away doing updates today, but I want to make sure that you know that we are so excited about, and she just put it in there right now, spiritinmind.vidflex.tv. So check it out this weekend. Please let us know next week or send us a message on how you were able to navigate through this website. So please forward it, share it, do whatever you got to do to let people know about this new platform.
Excellent. And thank you, Spirit and Mind family. Thank you for your prayers. Thank you for your continued support. And thank you for checking out Spirit and Mind at VidFlex TV. And now we have, we want to continue on our subject about presidential transitions. Of course, in this season, we started last week and we want to continue. We've been talking about transitions for a while, but of course, we just went through a presidential election, and that is a transition in the socio-political sphere. And so today we are grateful to have another guest with us. And Dr. Shepherd is going to introduce our guest, and we can get rolling because I'm ready to hear what she has to say.
Absolutely. So we are so fortunate to have back with us the counselor herself. I'm about to call her the minister, and she is. She's a mental health minister. And I'm so thankful for the relationship that I have with Chantel Biddings. She actually she is a friend of a good friend of mine, Dr. Marilyn Griffin. Did not realize the connection. Dr. Marilyn Griffin and I, we went to medical school. Actually, we were even before medical school, and heard so many good things about Chantel Biddings through her and through other people. And so we're just glad to have you back. Welcome, Chantel, back. We had you back in October, and we wanted to bring you back because of the transitions that took place. So again, let the people know where you're at. Also, during this time, another reason why I want to bring you back is because you have a book, and we want to make sure that we emphasize where people can go to purchase your material. We're all about pushing other people on this platform. So go ahead, greet the people, let them know where you're at and what you do.
Well, hello, everyone. I am Chantel Biddings. I'm a licensed clinical professional counselor, and I am in the Chicagoland area. So joining from the Midwest this morning. And so I'm very glad to be here once again to share on this wonderful podcast now that's going to be launching and expanding and doing such wonderful things in our community. So yes, I am the author of I Am Enough, which is 14 days of strength and encouragement. And so I look forward to connecting with you all. My book is available on Amazon. So go ahead and search it out and find it and get it for yourselves.
Wonderful, wonderful. And if you don't mind, when we get a chance, we might be able to put that in the private chat, and that way I can copy and paste it, or Minister Kat, our engineer, she can go ahead and copy and paste that into our comment section. And when people do that, they will actually purchase the book right on the spot. I'm in the presence of two great authors, Bishop Robinson, Chantel Biddings. So you know what's next. You know, I gotta
come on.
All right, man. I feel the pressure. But honestly, yes, I'm thankful for you being with us here today. And Bishop, let's just, I'm ready to start. I know you typically start off with, wonderful questions. But if you don't mind me just asking, Chantel, Counselor Biddings, what her initial reaction was to President-elect Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris winning the election. If you don't mind me just starting there and then, moving forward.
Yeah, please.
Well, I think with a lot of other people in the country, I want to say my initial response was an overwhelming sense of relief. I want to start with joy and happiness, and of course that came afterwards. But number one was definitely relief. I think that for a chance, and a lot of my friends, we discussed this, that for a change, I think the entire, most of the country breathed a huge sigh on Saturday, a couple of weeks ago when we got that kind of news. And then, of course, pride. As being a Black woman, of course, there was much pride with the election of our new Vice President-elect Harris. And so it was absolutely a wonderful day. I don't think we've felt these feelings probably in the last 8 years.
Wow. Yeah, so I'm grateful that you mentioned that the anxiety component where people are breathing a a sense of relief. But we yet are still holding our breath, so to speak.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Current president has not conceded and continues to throw divisive measures into the whole transition process, if you would. And it's been very discouraging. And so, I would like for you to speak to, especially to the population at large, who helped put the president and the president-elect and vice president-elect, and that's to the Black women. They were a driving force, and not just them, but I do want to focus in on them because they have been marginalized in so many different ways. And I do want to shine a light on them today and thank, the Black women and let them know that we do not see them as collateral damage. But I want you to speak to them. What should we be mindful of with a president who's not willing to concede? What steps should we now keep in mind as we're moving forward?
I think that in particular, we owe a great debt of gratitude to Stacey Abrams. We know that she worked untiringly, even after losing a race herself, to make sure that others, hundreds of thousands, were registered to vote in Georgia, and that they were provided the tools, the information, and strategies to be able to vote in a time where we shouldn't be having to provide tools and strategies to be able to vote. And so we owe her greatly. We owe other Black women. It's been said time and time again that if you want a job done, give it to a Black woman. We get the job done. And so I think that we need to be very conscious and celebrate. Of course, we always want to celebrate the fact that hundreds of people voted that have never voted before, thousands. And that's a great victory. But we also want to be watchful and mindful of the states that we still need to win to gain control of the Senate, and making sure that we are doing everything we can to support them in those runoffs, in those elections. That means sending your money, sending your time, sending your efforts to those areas, and making sure we're doing all that we can possibly do to continue to support the forward movement. Yes, we are still anxious. Yes, we are still anticipating that last little last pull to try to flip things back in the opposite direction. And I think we have to just, as people of faith, be prayerful that that we will prevail, because it has been a long haul. I think that for most of us, these last 4 years has been a definite drain emotionally, mentally, even spiritually, as you just go and look at so many things that have been pulled back, been reversed, been taken away from communities that are in dire need. And so we have to just remain prayerful that everything will continue to move forward. But as we pray, we want to also work. So we want to make sure we're sending our dollars and putting our efforts towards that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Counselor, I want, we've had, and of course you're able to talk to a myriad of subjects in this matter. So we're not confined to the Black woman subject, just because that happens to be the subject, because you certainly can talk to any. But experientially, it does seem to be, it was Du Bois who said, it's an interesting quote. He says, despite the focus on my brothers, I instinctively feel and know the importance of the women of my race. Black women are the pillars of our social settlements, he said in his book, Dark Water. And so now that we have the first vice president that is a woman with Jamaican and Indian and this African-American addition now, from 46 presidencies later, but nonetheless it's here. How important in light of there's been this movement to see things like The Help. That movie tried to emphasize the role of African women, American women, in nurturing households, and then Hidden Figures, talking about which by its very name means this kind of ignored but not fully recognized role of women in technology and space development. And now we have the first vice president. I want to connect that to developmental psychologist William Cross has this idea of nigrescence, or the process by which we become aware of our Black identity. Cross says that that's important to know who we are as African Americans or as Black people. And it's a process so that we are our healthiest selves. How important is the first vice president that is essentially a Black woman, educated at HBCU? How important is that to that nigrescence process, or the pride of Black identity?
I think it's huge. I think that we know that representation matters. We know that it is important for every young Black girl to see our vice president-elect and know that they can achieve, they can matriculate through school, they can do all these exceptional things and finally be seen and be celebrated for the greatness that we all carry. I think if we even in our minds travel back to slavery times, when the Black woman's role was to not only nurture her own family, but nurture the families, the children of the slave owners, and still have to work and do all the other things, the other duties. And so since the beginning of time, Black women have, in our country, have nurtured society. We have fed them, we have raised them, brought them up. And as we have advanced throughout the years, then being the last ones to be able to vote. So not only do we go through the civil rights movement, but the suffrage movement as well, to finally get to the place where our vote and our voice count and they matter. That all the strength, all the wisdom that we have carried for centuries is finally been put on Front Street, been put on the front page. And I think that as women, we've always done the work, always had to work twice as hard to be seen as half as good. And so I think that we have to continue to be placed in these positions in the forefront, not only in our societies, not only in our political systems, in the educational system, in the medical fields, in the counseling fields, in the church even. We have to acknowledge the role that women have played in building our churches and maintaining our churches and funding our churches, and not just look at them as someone that can speak on Women's Day, but women that are empowered, that are anointed, that are trained to be leaders. And I'm very proud to be in that place to further push my sisters in that area.
Wow. This is thank you. You've given us several areas of insight. I'm so glad that you mentioned that importance of seeing this representation in so many diverse fields, from counseling to Christianity and the church, as you mentioned. And indeed, there is an emphasis as it pertains to church, not just for Women's Day, but many of the social institutions history records. Evelyn Higginbotham is a scholar in African American church studies, and she makes the point that it's not just Black women preachers, but Black women laity who really took the Black church to the social element and specialized in Christian education and helped to build the schools and the HBCUs. And so we do indeed owe a lot to the contributions of our Black women. And so that raises this question for me. The next one is that, you have the pushback from some who push back on the identity politics argument. That emphasizing the blackness or the black woman is divisive, and even in the election, you had persons who did cross over and vote for the current president-elect Biden and Kamala Harris. And so you did have some persons who crossed over to vote for that ticket, but they still had some reservations and still identify ideologically with the other side. They just did not like the personality, because the personality through which their argument was delivered was divisive. And that argument, and I want to tie that in. Ruby Payne, the educator, says that one of the values of middle-class society is security and peace. So I say that to say that you got some people who voted just to bring peace, who reached across the aisles, but they still have some challenges when we talk about what they see as identity politics, Black women, and Black Lives Matter versus All Lives Matter, and Black women versus women. What would we say, or what can we say to those persons who feel that angst? White middle-class women will say, well, what about me? And what about, are you leaving me out? What can we say to them that would help that anxiety, that we can talk about what we're talking about without it being an attack or degradation of white women or whomever else?
Yes, I think that's an excellent point. And I think we have to remember that just because we celebrate or promote or give honors to a Black woman who has achieved this level of success does not mean that we're saying that anyone else is anything less. I think that at times there's so many things that a Black woman has to overcome to even see her success, for other people to see her success. So as we look at how even our first African-American First Lady was judged, before we could get to how smart she was, how accomplished she was, the policies that she promoted and supported throughout her president's tenure, we have to go through what her hair looked like, what her clothes looked like, what designer she was wearing. You know, we wanted to make that the topic of all the conversations first before we got to the real meat of what she was trying to do. And I think that as we go throughout our society, we have to continue again to push to be twice as good. So I can't just be smart. I can't just be pretty. I can't just be have attended, prestigious universities. I have to be a total package, and I have to maintain a certain even keel personality. I can't be too aggressive, because in a man, aggressiveness is seen as a good quality, a good trait, a quality of a leader. But as a woman who is aggressive and that pushes for the things that she wants and the things that she knows is right, is seen as a negative trait. She's seen as the angry Black woman or the attitudinal Black woman. And so we have to be mindful that there are so many barriers that we have to overcome to achieve these levels, that we cannot afford to not have pride. We cannot afford to not support. And we would be doing a disjustice to all of our mothers and grandmothers that have come before us, that pushed us to know that we can do it just as well. We can do it better. We can achieve. We can go to school. We can be professionals and have families if we choose to. And we can continue to set the example for other young Black women.
Counselor, thank you for saying that. Serving as a chief medical director where I am, it is my job to help empower people. And I take that job very seriously. And I just had a conversation with one of the physicians that I supervise, and was able to bring her out of a situation where she was a very intelligent young female Black doctor, but she was being abused. And I'm not saying physically abused, but she was being abused by the people at her corporation. And it lowered her self-esteem. And I saw it, and it really bothered me because, again, she's a friend of mine and was able to help bring her on to the corporation where we are now. And I saw in just the 2 years how it began to boost her confidence to now to where she's been offered a position as a residency director for a major institution in this area. And we were just talking last night, and she was just saying, thank you, because you helped in, and I didn't even realize, she said, you need to even think about a leadership academy. I was like, she was speaking into my life, literally. And I mentioned it not to asking for any accolades, but I mentioned it because I want you, if you can, I want you to speak to that person who is out there today, who believes that they are lesser than who they really are. Hopefully that question is making sense. Because we have people now, even listening in Spirit and Mind. I know there's some believers out there, but they keep quieting down and keep taking the back seat. And when they need to uplift this pandemic, one thing about it has definitely shown true character, whether or not you got the goods or you don't have the goods. It really has shown that. And so many of our Black women do have the goods. And so I want you to speak to that person who is I'm not saying it the way in which I really feel it. Like they just keep decreasing themselves to just to kind of just stay, within that certain lane that they feel comfortable in.
Yeah, I believe that there are a lot of women that shrink or dim their light.
Yes.
For many reasons. A lot of it is insecurities. A lot of it is what we've talked about in our book is in the imposter syndrome. The feeling like I have to tread carefully because I'm not even sure if I'm supposed to be here, because I've never seen it before. Others before me have not done it. So me sitting at this table feels like someone will find me out, that someone would expose me for being less than or not having enough, not being enough. And so we constantly have to encourage women to push past that imposter syndrome, knowing that you are fully equipped, fully educated, and have everything that you need to move forward. I think that if someone finds themselves in that space, do the work. Go find a therapist. Figure out why you tend to shrink or dim your light in those rooms. Find out why you feel like you should be sitting at the kiddie table instead of the main table. And so we have to do the work. I think that we have to continue to support each other, and then do as you did, Dr. Shepherd. If you find yourself in a space of authority, a space of power that you can uplift and you can help encourage and enrich the lives and bring a sister to the table that needs to be there, I think we have to continue to take that responsibility. I think that our allies, our Black men in leadership, our white men in leadership, our white women in leadership have to take that on as a responsibility I'm going to bring someone along that has not been seen before. I am going to promote someone who is fully educated, fully qualified because I can and because I should.
That's right. That's good.
How does that I'm trying to it's provoking a question in terms of this election season and the presidential transitions, because it seems as if there's a cautious kind of celebration. Mm-hmm. And if this is a powerful and empowering Nigrescent moment that we can celebrate our ability to transcend, to kind of get to this first African-American vice president. But instead of celebrating that fully, we still kind of seem to have this need to, first of all, acquiesce and not irritate. It's that same feeling of, can we say Black Lives Matter without you having this moment? So can we celebrate this? And on the political side, there's much discussion about how important the peaceful transition of power is, that how helpful it would be. While a concession speech is not necessary by law, it is helpful to the spirit of the law and maintaining the transition that needs to happen. We don't seem to be able to celebrate fully that transition with the first African American woman in this position. So how important is that psychologically that we do that, or that we have that conversation, or that we speak up and speak out, or that we use the term vice president-elect or whatever? How important is that? We know how important it is politically, but how important is it psychologically?
I think that is huge. I personally think that for centuries, African Americans have had a disruptive attachment disorder with the United States, with America. We have been in a place where we are given a little and a lot is taken back. We've been made promises, laws have been passed, and when it comes down to actually living out the laws, we know that that's the reason why we have Black Lives Matter. When we're taught, when the country was formed, and it was that you were not a whole person because you were African American. And then the laws seem to have been changed, the wording was changed, and yet in the world, you're still treated as less than. We see the disparities in healthcare. We see the disparities in the way laws are enforced. We see the killing of Black men and women with seemingly no punishment going forth. And so I think that as African Americans, we're in this really strange attachment disorder with the United States, feeling like I can't really trust you. I want to, but history has shown that I should not. And so we still have that unease with, we want to celebrate, we want to be glad, but history has shown us that, it could go another way. And so I think that is why emotionally and psychologically, we're still at that unease. Like, I want to take a full deep breath and sit back and relax. But now it's just like, I take certain little sips of air every now and then in hopes that things will work out well.
Oh man, that is a wonderful analogy.
Yes, it is.
That's exactly what people are feeling. The whole point of I can't breathe. We literally have had our air structures cut off, if you would. And when you have your air structures cut off, you choking somebody, you can't get the oxygen to your head, and you become disoriented. You even pass out, so to speak, if I get into the whole medical term. And so I definitely hear that. I definitely understand that. It's even can be seen with regarding to the vaccine, to other areas. And I won't digress too much there. But again, that's why we're having such a struggle with people wanting to even agree with what is being said on how to be able to mitigate the virus as it is with the vaccine, because people don't trust science. They don't trust American doctors. They don't trust American science because they have been disadvantaged. And thank you for saying that. I was reading just some of the comments on here, and people are very engaged. We have some new folks who've never commented before. A friend of mine who grew up with me back in Chicago, my old church, Taisha Michael, is out there, and she's saying some wonderful things. And
yeah, absolutely.
Rising up and stepping up into the spotlight. It's time to be visible. And then it's hard to, and I just want to emphasize this again, that when we don't have a concession speech, is it really necessary? And that whole, let me say this, and I don't want to be too controversial in saying this, but I do believe that people know what they're doing when they choose not to concede. I really do believe that is not something that they're just kind of playing with and say, oh, I'm not going. It's intentional. It's intentional. And it is something that we have faced as Black people throughout our centuries living in this country. A lot of the stuff that we think, oh, they just, institutional and structural racism is real. It is real. And some of it can be so subtle that sometimes we miss it. But I thank God for the awakening, even though this show has helped me, I'll just say this personally, to be able to spot some things a little bit quicker and help me to be able to kind of navigate how, around some of these things. And let me tell you, you really hit on that. And I just wanted to emphasize that I hope people are going to take away from this, those points that you have said, that how we've got to be smart, we've got to be wiser, and understanding that even if somebody does not, and I want to go back to something you said regarding Stacey Abrams, and then Bishop, I'm going to stop. This woman, Stacey Abrams, even though she lost, she did not allow that to stop her from doing the purpose and mission that she was called to do. Now, I hear the preacher in me coming out just a little bit. I tell you, that right there is powerful, because so many of us would have gone and just gone the corner and cried and just said, I'm done with this. This thing is bigger than us. When you're transitioning, as we go through, this thing is bigger than me, myself, you, Bishop. It is so much bigger than us. And so we want the women out there, we want the men out there to know that as we go through this transition, even if somebody never says to you, I'm sorry, man, I feel myself going to another place right now. But even if somebody never tells you, I'm sorry, if even somebody never tells you that you're special, or you need to know that you are special. You need to know that you don't have to receive that concession speech from that person to continue on with the work that you're supposed to do. And I want to let, who never knows, Vice President Kamala Harris, she might hear me on one day. I'm going to tell her, you don't have to have a concession speech. You go ahead and do the work. That's all I need to tell you to do. All right, Bishop.
No, but you're on. I think that's the point that I was trying to get to, is this tension that we have to feel, where we want to celebrate, but we also have to, in a sense, taper it, the full celebration, and it's always a battle to some degree for full appreciation, and both are true. The analogy is often been given as it concerns that, yes, all lives absolutely matter. And the analogy that's often been given is, if it's all buildings matter, but not all buildings are on fire. And so when the fireman comes to the neighborhood, he doesn't have a discourse on whether all the buildings matter. He's asking which one needs immediate care and attention. Absolutely. And so when we say all lives matter, Black Lives Matter, it does not mean that all lives don't matter. It means that there is a segment or a demographic or a house, if you will, that needs immediate attention. And if we spend all of our time watering the lawn and caring for the house that is already perfectly manicured and ignoring the fact that something is burning down over here, we have done a disservice ultimately to the whole neighborhood.
Amen.
And so, but that's the tension that we kind of feel in these situations, even in this celebration. So the letter of the law says that the thing goes on, concession speech is a courtesy. And that's been some of the pushback from those who have other agendas and intentions. But the spirit of the law, which, as the bishop, I believe the spirit is powerful. The letter kills, but the spirit giveth life. Yeah. And so it's the spirit of the law that it's still a spiritual battle that is going on. Can we celebrate, or can we, is it premature? All of these questions are indicative not only of the election, but perhaps are indicative of the African-American struggle at large. As you put it, the disruptive attachment thing. Are we connected, or shall I not, or can I? It's a very anxious attachment. To be kind of Bowlby in here that we are, but it's a very anxious attachment thing that's going on here. It seems to me. So that's what I hear us saying. Please feel free to chime in and help this house on fire, Counselor or Dr. Shepherd.
Yeah, Bishop, you hit it 100% spot on. It is very much accepting the apology you'll never get. It is very much knowing that courtesies are not always extended, even when they should be. And it's also a matter of understanding the character of the person that will not concede. And I think that, that's a whole nother conversation. But character is so very important. And as we look at Stacey Abrams and what she did, she understood that the cause was the greatest thing, even if her name wasn't attached to it. As long as the message goes forth, as long as the change occurs, it doesn't matter if my name is up under it. It just matters that it happens. It matters that it goes forth. And I think that as a people, the way that we grow is that we have to learn to start promoting the cause above the applause. Like it doesn't matter if you clap for me, but let's make sure that the work gets done. Let's make sure that the needs are met. Let's make sure that the hungry are fed, and that those that are without are clothed. Let's make sure that the cause goes forth.
Wow. The cause above the applause. That's powerful. And so it goes back almost full circle to where we began with the hidden figures piece. And Dr. Shepherd, what I hear you saying is even if history or the public or the applause mechanisms relegate you to being a hidden figure, quote unquote, still have this sense of internal identity and health and who you are, and that's just a healthy place to be.
Absolutely, because let me tell you, and I feel my preach coming back again, because you said it again. You striking this me today, counselor. The cause above the applause, because let me tell you, when it gets down to it, and when you understand the type of person that I am, I don't look for applause, and we need to stop looking for applause. When you know the gift that God has given to you, it doesn't matter who steps in your way. It doesn't matter who is able to say, good job. I'm not looking for that, because I want to make sure that what God has given to me, I am utilizing it. I want you all out there to utilize the gifts that God has given to you. This show is a show of enlightenment. It's a show of inspiration. And so if we have done our due diligence, we don't tell you all the things that we do behind the scenes to make sure that this is produced every Saturday, because that's not the type of people that we are. But we want to make sure that every person who hears what we have to say is furthered. You should not be at the same place that you were when we came out when we started this pandemic because of this show. All right. Because of what we have been able to offer to you. Again, it's not being big, but we're not looking for the applause. We want to make sure God has given this a vision to Bishop and to I, so that we can move the train forward, because we have some folks out there, whether it be Black women, white women, Black men, whoever it is, who are stuck, and we want to make sure that they don't stay there. So I just wanted to speak that don't allow you to stay where you are because you're looking for somebody to. You better be your own cheerleader.
Amen.
And get to moving. And let me tell you this. Oh man, I tell you, I felt the preacher me. God will reward you in open. My God, today when you do things in secret.
Absolutely.
And I've seen him do it for me this year. People come back to, I didn't know you had all this in you, Shepherd. Well, you didn't know what God was doing in secret. My God,
There you go.
it wasn't meant for you to know. If I would have known this back then, it wasn't meant for you to know. I know what God has done, and that's what keeps me humble. That's what keeps me doing what I know that I'm supposed to do. So I'm going to stop. It's been a whole hour now, Bishop.
Yeah, well, I think that's where the end. I think it's encouraging and be motivated, and the cause is so much more important than the applause. It's reminiscent of a friend I have, a pastor friend, Philip Pointer, who says, "If you live for the applause, you'll die from the silence."
Mm.
And so there's got to be some moments when we just kind of know. So, amen. Make this cause. That's what's given the courage to those hidden figures. That's what's given the courage to our predecessors and ancestors who put this cause ahead. And thank you for all, Dr. Shepherd. Thank you, Counselor Biddings. Thank you to our wonderful, wonderful Spirit of Mind family. The feedback is incredible. And we got preachers. Somebody quoted the scriptures. David encouraged himself in the Lord. Amen. Yes, he did. 1 Samuel 30, I believe. Thank you for being here. Thank you, Nick South. Thank you, Terrence Hayes. And so thank you so much, because you are a part of our dialogue and a part of the cause. And so we thank you for being a part of the cause today. Thank you for joining us, Dr. Shepherd.
Let's just reemphasize, Counselor Biddings, your book. Yes, go ahead and reemphasize it. We did put in the chat feature. I don't know if Minister Cat is able to do it one more time, but tell the people where they can purchase your material.
Okay, so the book is called I Am Enough, 14 Days of Strength and Encouragement. It is found on Amazon. It's on my website, of course. www.cbiddingstherapy. And I also want to just remind everyone the quote, the cause is greater than applause. It came from my good friend, educator Carissa, and she just encouraged us to stay focused on our mission. And as we close today, that's what I want to leave with everyone. Stay focused on the mission. It doesn't matter whose name is on it, as long as the mission goes forth.
Absolutely. We've had some great authors. Please get Counselor Biddings' book. We also, a few weeks ago, we had Minister Hill, Audra Hill, who's Trauma to Transformation is the name of her book. I Am Enough is the name of Counselor Biddings' book. There's some themes happening here for holistic being and wellness. And so please continue to support us on Spirit of Mind. Dr. Shepherd's got a book rising up in him, he says. So,
my God, yes.
In the name of Jesus. And so, critical collaboration, of course, we thank you for your support. We try to model that here on Spirit in Mind, this critical collaboration between faith and mental health perspectives that are really integrated for our wellness. And again, thank you to Minister Cat. Don't forget about the VidFlex TV option. You can get caught up on all of our Spirit in Mind presentations and join us in the future. So again, thank you for joining us on Spirit in Mind.